Hello and welcome to this episode of Trash to Track. In this episode we're going to be looking at a Hornby tender drive Duchess that's been sent in to me by Peter. And there's some problems with the Duchess as the front wheels won't turn and it becomes apparent that one of the tyres has come off the wheel. Now this is a common problem with Hornby products of this age. That side rod there, the crank pin's also out of the necessary hole, so that's going to need some rectification. The ring-filled motor inside the tender, we're going to give that a thorough service, and then we're going to dust off the dust on the tender body showing underframe here. The wheels don't look in too bad a condition, but I'll give them a clean as that's par for the course. To remove the body shell, all you do is gently unclip it, and it reveals the standard ring-filled motor and tender weights there. That wire looks a little bit suspect on there, so I'll have to go careful with that. To remove the ring-filled motor, you have to undo these two counterweights that the screw holds the motor in place as well. Once the weights are removed, you can remove the wire and the tender motor just drops out from underneath. These middle centre wheels here are dummies and sit on little pins. Gently opening the brush holders there reveals the brushes and springs. One of the brushes comes out rather easily, whilst one is actually stuck in the casing, which isn't uncommon with this sort of model. The motor faceplate just pops off and that other brush is pushed out of the motor housing there as it was stuck in with a buildup of carbon. Now I'm going to give the commutator a quick clean, first with my methylated spirits on a cotton bud technique. Then I'm going to polish it with a fiberglass pencil and then clean out the gaps in the commutator plates with a shaved down toothpick, as carbon deposits in the commutator plates can lead to short circuits, overheating motors and generally poor running. So I'm just doing that now, just cleaning out those gaps, and you can see just how nice and shiny the commutator faceplate has become. This will aid in good running, as I said. Just going to give it a final polish there with a methylated spirit soaked cotton bud, just to remove any loose debris. Now I'm going to clean all the cogs on the back of the motor, so you gently unclip this brass holder and the motor gear cogs simply lift out. There was a little bit of old grease and grime on these, so I gave it a thorough cleaning with a cotton bud and meths again, removing all the old dirt and grease that's built up over the years, and then I will re-lubricate the gear spindles with some silicone grease and then refit the cogs once I've given them a thorough cleanup. I also clean the motor front plate there just to remove any of the old lubrication. Cleaning the cogs is easier. Just put them on this blue towel and give them a wipe over to get rid of all the old grease that's on them, and to check to make sure that there are no stray burrs or any worn plastic on these gears which would possibly lead to poor running. Like I said, I'm just putting some silicone grease on the motor spindles here, just so that the cogs are lubricated, because they do turn around at quite a high RPM when this model will be running. So the two smaller cogs go on the bottom spindles and connect with the drive wheels. The two larger cogs with the cast-in smaller cog go face down with the smaller cog against the lower cog, if that makes sense, and then it all connects up. Just going to put a tiny amount of oil on there as well, and then refit the keeping brass retainer and give it a turn with finger pressure just to make sure that the motor turns okay. Put the motor faceplate back on. That simply clips in place. Don't forget to leave the pin in for those floating middle wheels. The brushes were put back after being cleaned in contact cleaner, and then the springs were replaced and the brush holders were gently folded over to hold the brushes and springs in place against that commutator faceplate. Once everything was put back in place, I put the wire back on there and I'm going to give it a quick battery test over the terminals, and you can see that the motor's running nice there and spreading the new lubrication through the gear train. I made a mistake putting this back together. I don't know if anybody can see it there. I won't reveal what it is unless you've actually seen it, but I'll put the motor back onto the tender chassis and then refit the weights using the flat-headed screwdriver. Again, don't over tighten your screws when you're doing models up, because over tightening them can damage the model and de-thread the plastic where the screws go. That motor wire there is slightly dodgy, but the solder joint looks strong, so I'm going to leave it as it is for now. And I'm going to replace the rear tender weight there. These go on one way. They're orientated so that there's a gap for the gears. The tender body shell was clipped on, test with the battery, and I also give the tender drawbar pickup a polish with the fiberglass pencil just to ensure good electrical conductivity there, remove any oxidisation. And it's here I realise my mistake. I've put all that back together and I forgot to put these floating middle centre wheels on, so now I've got to strip all that down again just to put those two wheels on. But here we go again, off with the tender top, and I reassembled it with the wheels in the correct place. Now the loco part of the model was slightly dusty. There's a crew fitted in there which I hadn't noticed before, so I give the model a good dusting with the paintbrush, and then I lay it on its side and remove the rear pony truck and the front pony truck just for ease of access. Keep the corresponding screws with the corresponding parts, it makes it a lot easier. And then to remove the chassis from the body shell, you remove this screw underneath the cab in the cab floor here, and the whole thing just unclips. It's not too bad in here, it's not overly dusty or grimy, but I need to remove all this as we've got to address that front wheel which is losing its tyre. So removing the base plate there, I'm just having a look at the wheels and axles. That rear axle was actually stuck in place with the amount of old lubrication that there was. So I'm going to strip down all the side rods and give everything a thorough cleaning. Looking at the rear wheel, it's not too bad. The tyres on this one appear to be solid. The tyres on the middle one, again, were also very solid. But I'm just going to show you what I mean about the gunk and grime that was holding that rear axle in place. This cotton bud with mess on it, just putting it through the axle hole there. And did you see how much grime and old lubrication has just come out of that? Now this is the front wheel with the loose tyre on it. Now there is no getting around this, you need to replace the wheels. There's no good putting glue on these and gluing them in place, as that is a metal wheel. So if you put glue on it, it will form an insulating barrier and prevent that wheel from picking up electric. So I'm going to have to get some replacement wheels for this. But while all the wheels are out of the chassis block, I'm going to give it a thorough cleaning with cotton bud and methylated spirits to remove all the road dirt, grime and crud that has accumulated on this over the years it's had running. So yeah, like I said, don't glue these on. It is a metal wheel and a metal tread. So I have some replacements. This one on the right here was sent as a new part, but it's actually got a groove on the tyre. So I'm not going to use that, or even though the tyres are on firmly. This one is slightly better, so I'm going to use that. I'm going to give these replacement wheels a thorough cleaning, as they were advertised as brand new, but they weren't the cleanest. So they're given a polish with cotton bud and mess, and then another polish up with the fiberglass pencil. Using the tender there, you can see the pickup side of the tender and the pickup side of the loco, just to align the insulated wheels up correctly. And now I'm going to clean the I'm going to clean the chassis base plate for the loco here. And then I'm going to add a small amount of oil to the wheels and axles, just so that they turn freely in the chassis. As we removed all that old lubrication, there is actually nothing in here, and metal on metal will wear really badly if there's not enough lubrication. And as you saw there, the wheels spin nice and freely now. So I'm going to put the base plate back on, and then I'm going to reassemble the valve gear. Well, no, I'm not. I'm going to put the pony wheels back on first. I don't know why I did it in that order. I should have left them off till they were back on the loco. But the pony trucks are now both on the front and rear, and I'm going to rebuild the side rodding. So this long piece goes on first with the square oil pot representations facing upwards. Then a small washer is put on, followed by the piston rod from the cylinders, and then the linkages and connecting rod there go on into a slotted groove on the side rod, and then the small crank pin is tightened up. Again, tighten this up as much as you can, but do not over tighten. If you over tighten it, you will snap the head off. If you want to check back into a previous Trash to Track where I did my friend's Britannia, that had got exactly that. The crank pin head had been snapped off. But these need to be tightened up gently as far as they'll go to hold the side rods in place. And the same was repeated for the other side. So this side rod and valve gear was done on that side. And once it's all done, I give it a quick roll test, and that is very free rolling, unlike the model we started with. So here I am just on the test track on the dining room table, just to make sure that the wheels and everything are in the correct way around so it runs. I'm happy with how that's turned out, so I'm going to refit that Loco body shell. And this rebuild has been complete. If you've got an engine you'd like to see featured on a future episode of Trash to Track, please email me at dansmodelrailways@gmail.com and we'll have a look at getting it sent over. And who knows, it may feature in an episode all of its own. I hope Pete's happy with his repaired Duchess. I certainly am. Thanks again for watching Trash to Track. Please like, share and subscribe, and I'll catch you in the next video. Bye for now.